Good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. It hasn't been a good day. Dear Loving Life family, my heart breaks when I see what is happening in South Africa. South Africa is burning. This is a one-sided war being waged by the EFF. This is what was sung from the stage by a senior EFF member last Friday at Senekal, while Malema danced beside him. I will show the translation first. I think you get the message. Burn these Boers. Let's watch the dance. Fire brigade. Batumlilo chief Abizani fire brigade. Shisalama pono chief Yefe ngendawe chief awingendawe chief Yefe ngendawe ingendawe. Okay, I think that's pretty self-explanatory what they're singing about, isn't it? What is happening right now? A couple of days later, the fires started, devastating hundreds of thousands of hectares across the Free State. Arson is the cause. Are these two events unrelated? I don't think so. Since then, thousands of livestock have been cruelly burnt to death, feedstocks deliberately burned, and farmhouses destroyed. The land has been scorched, and evil has been cast over the land. There is extraordinary footage of what looks like a fire demon leading the carnage. Let me show you that footage. It is quite extraordinary. Here we go. Okay, that's pretty scary stuff, isn't it? Pretty scary stuff. Now, there is also video footage of young Africans trying to settle out farmland. I have to tell you guys, I've been sent about 15 copies of this by email, but I have to tell you, this is old footage from many months ago. So it is unrelated to what we have seen this week. Having said that, clearly arson has been the cause of the fires happening now. Let me just show you the video footage that is old footage, just so you're aware. Here we go.
Kijk hoe stekelen brand. Kijk hoe stekelen brand.
As I say, this is from about
Start your
a few
machine.
months ago.
Start your machine. Loop met Jivan. Loop hy. Loop met Jivan. Hy steek hulle aan mekaar op.
Just to clarify, as I said, that is old footage. Now, let's continue. As I said at the start, this is a slow war being waged by the EFF. Something has to give, as Julius Malema has been emboldened by the corrupt judicial system in South Africa, with a lack of action against him personally and the EFF as a political party. I'm going to start this live stream by getting Dan, who is our resident priest, on to pray for South Africa and for the farmers. And I'll be getting David on at the same time. So let me get Dan and David on so we can get the show on the road. Hi, Dan. Hi, Dan.
Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Fantastic. And I can see you. Dan, I'm just going to get David on and then we'll ask you to pray for South Africa, okay?
That's fine. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, give me a second. How's your day been?
It's been well, thank you. Yes,
Great.
I did a lot of gardening today because the garden was starting to look a bit messy. But yeah, so I had a good day. I enjoyed it.
Great. Okay, I'm just waiting for David to respond. He should be with us in a moment. Here he comes.
How's the weather over there in Oz?
Oh, it's warm. Hi, David. Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Hi, Scott. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but I can't see you, David.
Good.
David, meet Dan. Dan's going to say a prayer for South Africa. Then we'll get on with the interview.
Scott, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, I can hear you, David. Can you hear me?
Scott, can you hear me?
I can hear you, David. Yes. Hang on, guys. Let me just see what's happening here.
Ja, hier voor die gasten.
I can hear you, David. I tell you what. I'm just worried that David will talk while we're praying. Oh, here he comes. Hi, David. Can you hear me now?
Correct.
Okay, what I'm going to do, Dan, is I'm going to just shut this live stream down. I'm just going to get
Hi,
into
Scott, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, David. Okay, let me just
Scott, can you hear me?
David. Hi, David. I can hear you.
Okay, Scott, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Not hearing you.
I'm talking. We did do a check on this just yesterday, guys, so I'm sure we'll get this solved quickly. Can I make a suggestion, David? Oh, you can't hear me. Try rebooting your computer. I will Skype you back. Okay. Dan, I'm going to shut down this live stream and just call you back individually, and then we'll get David on separately. Dan?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotta love live streams, haven't you guys? You gotta love live streams. Looks like we're going to have a good crowd here tonight, guys. 250 people already. That's great. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed and ring the bell for the updates, guys. Come on, Dan. Dan the man. Let me just call him again. Hi, Dan. Hi, Dan. Wow. Well, there certainly is a spiritual war going on, guys. That's one thing for sure. Believe me, it's happening right here. Hi, Dan. You're back. Welcome back.
Hello, Scott. Can you see me or hear me?
I can see and hear you, so it's perfect.
Oh, great. Okay.
Can you lead us in prayer for South Africa, Dan?
Yes, by all means.
Thank you.
Will you all please join with me now as we come before the Father? Blessed Father, we come together at this moment, and we gather together before your throne of grace with confidence in our hearts, Lord. We thank you for the privilege that we have of being able to come at your invitation to meet with you. And so we pray, Father, that you may hear our cry to you this night. We confess, dear Father, that we are bewildered at this time. Everything in our dear land seems to be falling apart around us. We are under the authority of corrupt men and women. We live during an epidemic of racial intolerance, far worse than the pandemic of COVID-19. There is the threat of ongoing violence. And now, Father, we seem to face another terrible threat, the threat of destruction of our farming community. There have been a spate of murders conducted in the most cruel and barbaric ways, and it is ongoing. There has been confrontation between farmers and EFF supporters, and now we see an attempt to destroy the farms and the crops with fire. Fires have raged throughout many farms in these last few days in the Free State, and we hear that loss of land through fire is over 100,000 hectares. Father, the question in all of our hearts is, what can we do? We are so desperate. We are like the Jews at the time of King Jehoshaphat, who were being attacked by men from Ammon and Moab. And like the men of Judah, we stand with our wives and our children, our little ones, before you now, Lord. And like them, we declare, O our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power to face this vast army that is attacking us. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. And like them, we hear the words spoken by Jahaziel, son of Zechariah, who said, Listen, King Jehoshaphat, and all who live in Judah and Jerusalem. This is what the Lord says to you. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Help us this day, O Heavenly Father, to turn to you in our need, to confess our sins as a nation, to ask for your forgiveness, to humble ourselves and to ask for your restoration. Fill our hearts with your Holy Spirit, so that we may seek righteousness and justice, that we may forgive those who need forgiving, and that we may stand in you against those who have joined the side of the evil one. We ask these things in the precious name of our Savior Jesus, who gives us hope, who gives us life, who is the light that shines in the darkness, even though the darkness has never understood it. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dan.
Cheers, I'll see you on the chat.
Yeah, you certainly will. Thanks, Dan. I'll try and get David back on again. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys, let's see if we can get David back now. Okay, he says got it, so I think he's ready now. Here we go. Okay, I see there was a bit of chat in the side chat. Now, guys, we got bigger things to worry about, okay? Please. Oh, come on. Where's David? Okay, let me just send David a message. Okay. All right. Let's see what's happening in the chat while we just wait for David to respond. Okay, let's try David again. Okay, I'll just ask David to Skype me when he gets back on. Okay, let's see what's happening. Just spoken to David Phelan and he was rebooting and aware of the problem. Okay, great. Okay, so that's the situation, guys. We just have, Marlena, if you can just get David, just tell David to Skype me once he's ready. We'll just continue chatting here in the side chat. And yes, Jack, it was a beautiful prayer. Dan is an amazing man. All right. Okay. Now, what else is happening in the side chat? Yeah, let's stick with the subject farm security, guys. We can talk about other things other times, but this is a very, very serious subject. And please, if you got questions you want to put to David, please just okay. He says he's back on. Let me just try him now. Here we go. Hi, David.
Hi. Scott.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yay! It's live.
That's a bit better.
Very sorry for that.
Well, we had Dan give us a beautiful prayer while you were just rebooting, so that's all good. Okay, now, just to introduce David, today my guest is David Phelan, and we'll be talking about farm security. Below this video in the description is a link to a farm security checklist, which you can download. Now, we'll be talking about that checklist a bit later. But, David, things are going absolutely from bad to worse in South Africa right now. What is the reality of the situation in South Africa?
Depends which side of the political spectrum you're sitting. Some people feeling that this is
David,
the praying for.
David,
Yes.
sorry, there's a lot of noise in the background. If you've got family in the same room.
I just had a meeting with people regarding farm protection.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go move to one of the other places.
Okay.
One of the other rooms. Then I'm not going to be making so much
silence
noise.
is the best way. Otherwise, it's going to be making a noise.
Scott.
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. Is that better now?
That's much better. Yeah. Yeah.
My apologies. It's a balancing act I've got at this stage.
That's okay. Take your time.
Right.
It's important we get your message without distractions.
And then we can chat. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Now you've got a light right behind your head, so it's not a great look. So if you can just turn, have the light in front of you.
No pressure, Scott.
Actually, that's good. That works. That's great. Okay. So let's start again. Tell us about the reality of the situation in South Africa right now.
Honestly, things are very volatile. We've got idiots at both ends of the political spectrum shouting for war, war, war. And then you got people in the middle who really don't want war. And certain elements are trying to push the South Africa into a civil war with the rhetoric and with the certain other things. And one of the certain other things is mainly these farm attacks, which is where I found my expertise coming in handy there. As you've been seeing with last week with the Senekal story, you've been seeing with the general lawlessness we've been having in the country, it's just getting worse and worse. So much so that I've just had a meeting now, 2.5-hour meeting with a small community close to the Baviaans Kloof, who are looking at improving the security situation. And one of the ladies said, she shook her head, she says, I can't believe we're sitting here like this, that we have to start talking about when we're allowed to open fire and how do I keep people from coming into my house and killing me. It's the sad reality.
That's absolutely crazy. And look, there's one thing that sticks out like a shag on a rock, and his name is Julius Malema.
Don't mention that.
But it's worse than that, David. I mean, he should not be walking the streets. He should be behind bars for what he says and what he does.
No, you know, I can't remember the exact words, but there's a saying amongst the old soldiers that only he who hasn't faced war calls for war. And I love to refer to him. I know you've got your favorite names from, but I refer to him as South Africa's main Quidin.
I'm not calling for war. I'm saying that Julius Malema should be behind bars.
No, I agree with you. But what I'm saying to you is that he's a Quidin. He's one of these people that's very quick to talk about war, but he's never seen war. I think he must have missed out on being part of the struggle. So now he wants to make up for it. But of course, it's not just about that. He's making a hell of a lot of money as well with his followers. But yeah, for his utterances, he should have been locked up a long time ago. And everyone's trying their best. Every forum's trying their best. The certain other lawyers are also trying their best, but it's just not happening.
Did you hear that song that they sung at Senekal?
Yeah.
The one about the fire brigade?
Yeah, that nonsense that was being sung on Friday, that you only put two and two together. Some people only put two and two together this week. with these fires up in the Free State and I think it's in Northern Transvaal and the Western Cape as well, that they were actually singing that. And oh, what a coincidence. A couple of days later, we've got fires engulfing hundreds of thousands of hectares of farm. And I had a conversation with 2 farmers this morning up in that area because we're trying to coordinate help from the Eastern Cape, where I live, to help these guys. I had 2 grown men in tears. One of it from what they've seen and what's been happening, and the fact that we are helping them, that there are people out there willing to help them. And these are people that are not they don't wake up in the morning, go out and say, right, who can I screw over today? Who can I peeve off today? They go out and see how high can I get these berries to grow, or how delicious can I get these oranges? And this is what happens to them. This is the payment that they get, the reward.
Well, the big issue here is food security in the country. I just can't understand why the government can't see what is happening, because when they've got 50 million starving people in South Africa, they're going to be coming after Ramaphosa and his guys, because they're
yeah. I don't know who exactly they're going to go after, but I can bet you whoever they're going to go after is going to be sitting in Switzerland or in Jamaica or in the UK, smoking a big fat cigar and counting his money.
Yeah, just leaving South Africa. Well, I think this brings us to the second point, and that is the need for people to come together, organizations to work together in South Africa. Yep. And I was delighted to see in the last week that the ULA are now working with the Boer Legion. In fact, I'll have them both on tomorrow night. That's Hein Marx and General Isaac van Zyl. And we need more of that. We need these organizations all working together, because then Eendracht maakt macht. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, amen. Eendracht maakt macht. Unity is strength. Scott, we had the privilege during I think we were in level 3 or something like that during the lockdown, when we were allowed to have meetings of 50 or less, that we got in the Eastern Cape here. We got members of the Boer Legion, Suidlanders, AfriForum, various neighborhood watches, farm watches, people from different political arenas, different political ideas, and we sat in a circle.
Yeah.
In one of the farmers' halls. We sat in a circle, we looked at each other, and the bottom line that came out of that was, if you're in trouble, I'm going to help you. As long as you don't break the law and you're generally right, I'm going to help you. And that's what we are trying to promote at this stage.
Right.
It really annoys me when you hear leaders, leaders who say, no, I'm not going to work with them because he's this, that, or next thing.
Yeah.
But as long as he's staying the right side of the law, why not work with him? If I don't like your T-shirt or I don't like your banner, to hell with it. What's more important? Saving this sinking ship?
Yeah. Now, we just touched on a situation where things go completely pear-shaped in South Africa. And, the people like Ramaphosa will get on a private jet and fly out the country, leaving it in a complete mess. That leaves the whole country in a huge hole, doesn't it?
Oh, it's ops normal. Like we used to say in the military, it's ops normal. It's ops normal for Africa. Look at the Congo. Look at the Congo. Look at Angola. Look at Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe. Well, not Zimbabwe. They haven't done the full civil war thing yet. I think they've still got a couple of imported millies left. But look at the rest of Africa. We'll just turn against each other and slaughter each other until some idiots come in with blue berets and try to separate us.
Yeah. As a matter of interest, who facilitated that come-together meeting that you were talking about a moment ago?
It was my idea, but it was a joint effort from all of us.
Well, congratulations. I think that is absolutely marvelous what you achieved there. Now, obviously...
It wasn't my idea, actually.
Sorry?
God gave me the idea. I just executed it.
Right. Just talking about standing together, that actually facilitates networking and using things like social media, radio and stuff like that. What are your views on how social media can be used to basically get people working together?
Well, firstly, we have to make sure that anything we put on social media, we make sure it's the correct thing, that it's not out of context, that it's not incorrect information,
Right.
and it's not a video from 2 years ago showing some guys lighting a fire and everyone's up in arms thinking it was yesterday. So
Well, can I just answer that, David? I
Yeah.
actually just, before you came on, I played that video of these young kids trying to light fires, and I made the point that that didn't happen last week. That's months old.
or months ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Out
Yes.
of context.
Yeah.
Now, the person who took that and started sharing on social media, why? So yeah, social media is great. We are utilizing it. Now, if you don't mind me bragging a wee bit now.
Go ahead.
Where I live in Petaincy, we've got the Comters Valley, we've got our community safety networks here. And we've got one global one for the whole Comters area. Then at the different areas, Thornhill, Crossways, Comters, Mont, Hankey, Petaincy, Lurie, Thornhill, Andries Crow, where I am tonight. We've got additional smaller groups where the people keep contact with each other. And if there's an incident, they inform each other what's going on. And if there's help needed, they inform each other what's going on. And making use of the main group, like we have, it's not just about farm attacks and that, it's also about helping guys out if there's a vehicle accident or a vehicle breakdown that can cause an accident. We get the message out to each other very quickly. So these social networking groups is a fantastic tool if it's used properly.
Yeah. The problem is,
we've also got sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the problem is that the EFF are also using these tools, and they're not using them in a nice way.
No, that's why. Look, I do a lot of training with neighborhood watch and farm watch guys,
Right.
and one of the first subjects I present to them is legal aspects. And one of the points I've tried to emphasize in that is, you as a law-abiding person in the country, you want to get involved in protecting your community or being involved in the neighborhood watch. You've got to make sure that you do things right. You've got to make sure you're part of the solution,
Right.
not part of the problem. So anything we do on social media, we need to make sure that we are doing it right, that we're doing it in a responsible manner. If the bad guys, aka Julius and his cockroaches,
Yeah.
want to use social media for bad propaganda or for inciting violence and all that, do it. They'll be their reckoning, and they'll have to answer to a greater power than us. But there's nothing we can do about it. We just need to make sure, as responsible, law-abiding, God-fearing citizens of this country, that we behave in a legally responsible manner and we do things properly.
Right. Now, I just want to say we got well over 400 people watching at the moment, and I'm just going to quickly address people watching. If you've got questions you'd like to put in the put to David, please just put them in the side chat, and I'll put them to him a bit later. And please remember to subscribe to the Loving Life channels. There are two main ones, and we cover a lot of different subjects every night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. Okay, sorry, David. Let's get back to the situation here. So one of the big areas that needs to be looked at is community safety units.
Yes.
And also other areas. So just take us through that. What has to be done in that area?
Scott, it's no secret the South African Police Service are unable to stop this tide of crime and violence in the country. It's no secret. For two reasons. One, under manpower, and some of the manpower just don't want to be part of the solution. So we as private citizens have the two choices: jump ship or stay here and help. So with that, we need to become not vigilantes like some people think neighborhood watchers are, but we need to be part of the solution. Now, with some of the training sessions and some of the meetings that I have, you'll get, and I say this with all due respect, the little old 82-year-old granny who might not be as fast as she used to be, and she wants to know how can she be part. She's not going to go driving around 3 o'clock in the morning. But she can also be part of what we refer to as a block watch. Being put on a specific time at night, she'll sit there by a lounge with a notebook and a pen and a cup of coffee and her WhatsApp, her phone with her WhatsApp, and she'll look out for any suspicious behavior. So
Right.
that person can make a contribution as well.
Yeah. Yeah. If everybody can play their role, can't they? Now,
Yeah, it's the old one of the politically thrown around words is now as empowerment. You can empower your whole community to do something about the problem. They'll get involved, and I think they'll be less inclined to be part of the problem and want to become part of the solution. One of the weak points we have in the country at this stage is the amount of neighborhood watches and well, let's call them neighborhood watches, generalizing neighborhood watches
right.
in our black areas, our black and colored areas. We should be having more of them there. And there's a lot of people that want to get it up and running. It's just not there yet. And we really need to give attention to that because those people are suffering big time also.
Right. Okay. Now, it was interesting because last night I had an African who lived in a township on my live stream. His name was Sito. And I've heard from another African whose name is Muzi, and they both live in different townships. And I had Muzi on a live stream maybe a month ago. And Muzi was saying to me, you know, the amount of anger towards the minority white community in these townships is growing exponentially. And it's all because of the EFF. And when I spoke to Sitho about the same subject, he said, yes, that's happening. He said he can see it in his township. There's this growing resentment towards the white community. Now, this is really dangerous.
Sorry?
I said, this is really dangerous. What are your thoughts about that?
They want to push us into a civil war.
The EFF?
They want, yes.
Yeah.
He stood there and said, we're not calling for the slaughter of white people yet.
Yeah.
Now, what the hell? So Hitler said in 1937, I'm not going to invade Poland and Holland and France yet.
Mm. And of course, now the ANC are looking at going back to level 3, which means that people are stuck. They can't move from their homes. They can't leave the country. They're basically stuck.
Yes, and the poverty is growing.
It is exponentially growing. Now, okay, let's talk about the law and the importance of the law. Okay, we'll talk about the issue of the inequity in the judicial system in a moment, but just talk about the law and us.
As I said just now, we must make sure that we, as law-abiding, reasonable citizens of the country, always act within the confines of the law. It doesn't matter if it seems that the law is fair or not, or if the law is one-sided, which it is. And I've had I was personally at one experience with that. I think I mentioned the other program at the William Moffat, where SEPs arrived. We were doing a peaceful protest. We were keeping our distances. Everybody had their masks on. They came there and gave us 5 minutes to disperse, or you'll be locked up. Then every other day we hear about a riot, they're burning this down, they're wrecking this, and the answer we get is SEPs are monitoring the situation.
Yeah.
Double standards. But it doesn't mean, and as I explained to that cop that day, I said to him, this is unfair, but because you're a police officer, we respect you guys, we will disperse, which we did. Some people were getting a bit stroppy about it, and I said to them, again, the whole thing about we cannot now be arrested. Yeah, let them arrest me, yeah. No, that's not the way to go. Was the instruction legal? Yes, his instruction was legal. Was it fair in context of what's going on throughout the country? No, hell no. But it doesn't give me the right now to go break the law.
Yeah.
And the other worry that we have is, and I'm getting it so often by the training sessions to people, when we get to the legal aspects, and any questions, well, first one, when can I shoot? If a guy comes into my house, I'm allowed to shoot him. No, you're not allowed to shoot him. And the people are getting so wound up, and people, good and bad guys, are going to get killed unnecessarily. So we have to make sure that we know the law, because ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yeah. Well, I just have to pick up on one point with this inequity in the judicial system. And if we look at what happened to Andries Pienaar, who attended the first Senegal protest, and he was arrested for terrorism. He had the book thrown at him, attempted murder,
Yeah.
you name it. They threw the book at him. And that was on the direct instructions of Bekele. He actually said,
glad.
he said people have got to be arrested. But here comes a clanger. When he pleaded for bail, it was rejected by the local magistrate or judge or whatever it was. And when he appealed it, they said, "Yeah, we'll let you out on bail. This is nothing big." Now, that same local magistrate would probably release black Africans who come in there for rape or attempted murder and things like that, and they would just give them bail, put them out on bail.
Yes.
Look at that situation with Horner, that young 21-year-old.
Yes.
The guy who allegedly murdered him is out on bail for 16 stock theft charges. How does that work?
And even Sally was asking, how did this happen?
Yeah, well, Bekele himself should be behind bars, let's face it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well,
that's another story for another day.
There'll be no tears in my eyes. No, when you mentioned there about those ridiculous charges put against that Pienaar chap,
Yeah.
and I said, that's good. Now, before I get hung from Anita's tree, it is sort of good, because the more ridiculous they make the charges, the easier it's going to be for his defense to fight them.
Right. So they've basically hamstrung their own case.
Well, I hope so. I really do think so. And a couple of the legal chaps I've spoken to, they said that what was the prosecutor on?
Yeah.
He wants some of that because it must be good stuff.
I think this is the first time we've had something to laugh about in this conversation. It's such a serious subject. Now, look, one of the key issues here for people, and this is regardless of whether they're on a farm or even in a home, and that is training. How important is training for people?
Well, you don't want to go get into a car and start driving around unless you've been trained how to use it. You don't want to go out into society unless you know what the rules are in society.
Right.
So we start teaching the kids from school and in the homes what's the do's and don'ts in society. Before you're allowed a firearm license or to possess a firearm, you've got to do training for that. Now, that's some of the aspects, but when you look at the bigger picture, we now need to be trained, and it's sad that we have to go this way. We have to be trained how to keep ourselves alive and do it in a legally responsible manner. But you can't just, okay, we hear of all these gruesome attacks and all that, and I'm surprised that none of the relatives that survived it have totally flipped and totally gone, like they call in the US, gone postal and just taken a firearm and gone through and started killing innocent people. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet, and God forbid it does.
Yeah.
But it's because the madness. But to get back to the training, a bit more, a better answer on the training. There are various organizations and there are various groups that are assisting people with training.
Right.
I'm one of them. We go out and we train our neighborhood watch guys. Our people in the community here, we're going to be starting training with medical as well as soon as possible. It's not just about keeping the bad guys out, but also keeping our people alive.
Yeah.
So the training aspect is very, very important. But that said, one must be careful of these characters who are jumping on the bandwagon. All of a sudden, I am now often on self-defense. All of a sudden, I know everything about farm protection. All of a sudden, I know this about that and this about that. And
Right.
I put a course together for a couple of $1,000, rip you off, and at the end of the day, you still don't know your backside from your elbow. So opportunists, we have to be careful of that. And people who are going to be presenting training to guys out there must really look themselves in the eye and think, is this worth the money these people are paying for, and am I training them the right stuff? I would, under no circumstances, try to train a bunch of farmers in a week to go and do a dynamic house penetration like SWAT does, like you see in the movies. You know, the guys stand at the door and they shout, "Go, go, go!" and they kick down the door and they'll punch in. Any person that's done any specialist training, whether it be police tactical or reconnaissance commando or anything like that, will know it takes months and months of training. It takes hundreds of thousands of rounds to get you up to the standard. You can go charging through a door and you can immediately realize is this a win situation or not, is that a shoot target or not. So we got to be careful that we're training the people the right things. And one of the biggest aspects, unfortunately, these days is legal.
Right. Now, it's interesting because Philippe has said, are the South African Police Service now fast-tracking COC and self-defense firearms licenses for farmers, or is it still a go-slow action?
Was that a joke or a serious question?
Oh, no, Philippe is a, yeah.
No, sorry, that was sarcasm.
Yeah.
That's not sarcastic.
Oh, well, no, so in other words, it's still a go-slow.
As far as I know, people are still battling. Some people, if you ask the correct DFO, dedicated firearms officer, if you hand it into the right guy and he's got the right connections, you can get your license within a reasonable time. Right. But if not, we've got it here in the Eastern Cape. The common excuse that the guy said, "Oh no, it's in Bishu. We're waiting for Bishu to sort this out." And I heard the other day of a chat, because he asked the right person who had the right contacts, from handing in his documents to getting his license to going to the gun store and saying, "Yippee, give me my gun," 2 weeks. How is that possible? Someone's jigging the pig.
Yeah.
And I think it's being done deliberately.
Now, what I have attached below this video in the description is a copy of your farm checklist or farm security checklist, and I just want to say to people watching that, look, if you're able to just go down to the description below this video and download this document, because we will be talking about it, but we'll get to that very shortly. David, okay, we just lost you for a second, but you're back now. That's great. Okay, so yeah, it's funny how the head just suddenly starts moving, isn't it? Okay.
Some people would be happy to lose me that easily.
No, people love you. We got about 500 people watching at the moment. Okay,
I hope Julie's watching.
Tell us about home safety. What are the critical things people have to do as a minimal standpoint when it comes to their own home?
We call it circles of security, starting from the one side, from inside your house and working your way outside, having different layers of security. One must be careful of getting advice on that. You don't go to an alarm company for security advice because they're going to sell you alarms.
Right.
You don't go to a company that sells CCTV. They're going to sell you CCTV. You don't go to a guarding company because they're going to put some guy with a baton at your door. So when you're looking at, first thing, you need to get someone who's not going to make anything out of the advice they give you. And then you have to start working on having yourself a safe area or a safe room, or as we call it, a citadel, that you can fall back on. Preferably your main bedroom or your main passageway with the kids and included, the kids' bedrooms are included as well. And then from there, securing your home, then securing your garden. And then if you're living in a plot, then your plot's outside there. If you're a farmer, then you start looking at your different camps. And if whoever you are, you're a farmer or a normal member of the public, then your next circle is going into your community. Right. That's part of your security circle. My community, I've got so many circles, it's not funny. The area that I live in Pertains has got one, and then the Gamtoos Valley, then the Eastern Cape, and then etc., etc., etc. So you want as many layers of security around you as possible, and they also include the community. It includes a good relationship with your South African police services, and includes a good relationship with your local municipality, so that when you tell them these lights here that are not working can cause someone to get killed, That they don't say, "Oh, well, let's wait till it happens." That they'll actually say, "Wow, that's a good idea. Let's get those lights fixed."
Yeah.
So that's also a layer of security for us. But I actually made a mistake there saying the first ring being your safe room or your citadel. Your first safe ring of security is between your ears. It's having your mind switched on and having a positive attitude, having a yes I can do attitude, and not doing stupid things.
Right. Now, I just want to say to everybody watching, I see Marlena's putting Boere Drukte helps banking details in the side chat. Guys, these fellows under Chris are doing some amazing work trying to get feed to the farmers who've lost all their grazing. So please, if you can support them, please do so. Now, okay. I've got your document open, and I found it interesting. So you talked about mindset a moment ago, and on the farm security checklist, which people who've downloaded it, they can have a look at. It starts number 1 is your mindset. So that is obviously the most important, critical thing, because if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to look after yourself. Is that correct?
Correct. Then you may as well make Julius happy and get your ticket to America or Australia and bugger off now. But if you're prepared to stay in this country and you want to stay alive in this country, you've got to realize it's not a question of I might be a victim. I'm going to be a victim. So let's make it as difficult for them as possible. That if it does end up that they try to rob me or they try to break in or they try to steal something, that they end up being the ones that come up short.
Right. Now,
not the mentality of being a victim. Oh, shame, poor me. I'm going to lose everything anyway. I may as well give it away.
Yeah. Now, the inner sanctity which you talked about is the safe room. One thing that I've been told is it's important that you have an area in that safe room, which obviously has bars so no one can break in, that the bars are set away from the door, because from a corridor, for example, because if they can put their arm in with a gun, they can shoot you in the room. So you've got to have a room where you've got that safety.
That's a very good point. That is a worry you have. So when you have a safe room, if you in the safe room standing behind the door where someone could shoot through, it's not maybe the best idea. Standing too close to it, they're using firearms. But if you do have but in the same breath, you can't take someone now who's got an existing home and totally rearrange it to be the ideal. Because one of the ideals in a safe room is having a concrete ceiling, so that people can't get into the ceiling.
Right.
That's impractical financially for a lot of people. But having it that you don't have a line of sight from the door so someone can shoot at you, that is a good idea.
Okay, and then you've got the house perimeter on here. And then you've got, let's see, garden and initial fence line. Now, this obviously applies to domestic or farming. And then you've got your surrounding structures area. Then you've got your inner boundaries and farm boundary, etc., etc. Now, with this document, you talked about training earlier. How can people contact you to get training on this whole thing? Do you have people in different areas that train?
That is a challenge. Here in the Eastern Cape, we're quite a few people. So if anyone does want to contact me about it and ask me, I will do my best to source a reasonable, creditable person in close to the area, and not just give them any idiot that stood in front of a crowd. So there are lots of guys out there. There's one of our former generals, General Roland de Vries, who's
I've heard of him.
Just now. Yes.
Now he's brought out this like a document, which is apparently everybody's looking at. I'm trying to get him on a live stream. I don't think we've been able to contact him. I know Marlena's trying to track him down. Are you able to put us in contact with him?
I tried. He doesn't want to go on live stream and all that. He wants to stay away from the media as much as possible.
Okay.
The reason for that being, he is so busy with his different areas that he's doing around the country. It's not one weekend he's at home.
Yeah.
Almost every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's in a different area and going through a planning session with a different community.
Right.
So he doesn't like to talk on social media and all that. He's anti-social media and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Not you as such, but just social media.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I get it. Okay, so
But there are lots, sorry, Scott, to add to that, there are lots of guys out there that are knowledgeable and providing very, very good training. You just need to find the right people.
yeah. Now,
I know every form has got a lot of guys in the different areas throughout the country who provide the training as well.
right? Okay, so if you're a member of AFRA Forum, you can do it that way. Now,
You don't even have to be a member. If you're a member of the community of a neighborhood watch where there's every forum there, they'll help you to get some training done.
right. Now, how do people contact you? Have you got
Smoke
a Facebook
signals.
page or a website?
Unfortunately, yeah, I've got the Facebook page. So don't start leaving me abusive messages there, Julius. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Scott. This document I've given you there, it's got an emblem on it on the first page from a security company that I deal with in Port Elizabeth, where we do bodyguard training.
Right.
So that document is part of a curriculum on farm protection.
Right.
From this company. I've been given permission to use this document where I want. So for me now not to share this document so that I can maybe make another buck or two is really not right.
Yeah.
Now I'm as I said to you earlier on, I'm hoping and praying in the back of my mind that someone who does download this makes a change to their situation, and it ends up either delaying the bad guys getting in sufficiently that the cavalry can arrive, or that totally deters them from breaking in.
Right.
That would make my day. That I will consider my commitment.
And I think one of the really important points about this is that they reckon about 99.9% of attacks are planned, and normally they come with inside information. So if the domestic worker, for example, who cleans the house knows that you've got this safe room which is almost impenetrable, she'll be letting the guys know that, so they'll probably try and find a softer target.
Yep. That's a good thing, that then being a deterrent. That's good, and then someone else is going to have to bear the brunt. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
But as far as that domestic worker goes, a lot of people say, no, but she's been with my family for years, and she was with my parents and all that sort of stuff. Very, very often, I'm not saying always, very, very often, the people that you trust will turn against you out of survival. If they know that those bad guys have got their kid at home with a gun, with a gun to the kid's throat, excuse me, with a gun to that kid's throat, and the option is leave the door open so I can get in there and kill your boss, or I'm going to kill your child. Most people are going to take the option of keeping their child alive. So it doesn't necessarily mean just because you definitely in your heart you know this is a good person, it doesn't necessarily mean you can always trust them. So you've got to put some checks and balances in place to make it to reduce the chance of them turning on you.
Now, is it a bad idea then, as security, to have a domestic servant in the home?
It's safer not to have one. But that mother with a 3-year-old that's going to have a lady looking after her house and looking after that child while she goes to work is going to want to choke me if I say, no, get rid of all the domestics, then you're going to be safer. That's not the option. But proper vetting is a good idea. Often we have it that the employees, and now here's one of the practical tips that we give our people on the courses and the things in that document also.
Yeah.
You have a current photograph of the people working for you. With the attack of the Bloom family 2 years ago in Hunky, we were working to try and find that low-life piece of, low-life, let's just stop there.
Yeah.
We had a photostat of a passport that we were working on. And when we eventually had this guy in custody, we saw the photograph and we saw what this guy actually physically looked like. It wasn't close. We would never have picked them out of a crowd. So having a current electronic photograph of your domestic workers or your workforce, having it there, so that if something happens to them, if they get kidnapped, you've got a photograph you can show the police to help them.
That's a good idea.
But you can also have it. Now, having domestic work, you don't, or having anybody work for you, you don't. That's untraceable. It's not a good idea.
Right. Okay. Now, when we talk about safety on the move, when you're outside your comfort zone, what advice do you have for people there?
There's an old U.S. Marine Colonel, I think it was a Colonel, Jeff Cooper, who set up the Cooper levels of alertness. That if you're in your comfort zone, and the example I love to use, which used to be applicable years ago, but not so much anymore, if you're sitting in church, you're in a very safe, happy place, and you're there doing what you love, you're amongst good people and all that. The threat is generally very, very low. So you're in a mode, we call it white. But then when you leave there and you're going out, you're in the public sphere, then you're starting to go over to what we call yellow. You're looking around a little bit more, you're a bit more attentive, etc., etc. And then for the next one, you're driving down the road, your farm road, for example, or driving up your driveway, and you see somebody walking there that doesn't belong there, you don't recognize them, it shouldn't be there, etc., etc. Now you're starting to go over to what he would refer to as orange. There's a strong possibility of a threat, but not necessarily. Then this person turns around, he's got a firearm in his hand. Now you're in red. Now the chance of a threat is imminent. We don't want to be walking around, looking around every corner, expecting an attack in every corner, even though it's quite applicable, unfortunately. But because you're going to burn out mentally, and or you're going to overreact to the smallest thing. So depending on your situation, you're going to have a certain level of alertness, we call it situational awareness. Now, a couple of tips, for example. If you're walking down the street, don't walk in the middle of the road or against the pavement. You're an easier target. If it's possible, walk against the wall. If you're coming up and you see there's an alleyway or there's an entrance to the shop and there's people there, just at the last moment, change lanes in the pedestrian traffic type of thing. If you're driving, make sure your doors are locked. If you stop, and this is one of the people, I can't believe how people are still doing this today. If I go to PE tomorrow, I will see it tomorrow at almost every road I stop at. The cars will be stopped bumper to bumper. Right. And how many videos have we seen on social media where the guys come, they smash and grab, and that person can't get out of there?
Yeah.
They can't get the vehicle, they can't move the vehicle away. Make it a habit of stopping your vehicle, whether it is at a stop sign or a robot or the traffic is slowing down. You don't just keep a safe following distance for an accident between you and the front vehicle. You keep a safe distance. If anything goes wrong, you can maneuver around that vehicle if there's space, obviously. Don't get boxed in. Because there's an old trick as well. The guys will have a lead vehicle in front of you. You stop up behind them. The vehicle from the back bumps into you. He gets out. He starts drawing your attention, and the guys from the front attack you. And situational awareness.
Right. Okay.
So one has to be a bit more switched on where you are. And how often, and this is the last thing I'll say on this one, sorry, Scott, you walk in the supermarkets tomorrow, and it's not malls, because this is South Africa, not America. We have supermarkets. You go into a shopping center, not supermarket, into a shopping center tomorrow, and you look at how many people are either looking down or looking at the phones or looking on the nails or staring blankly into space, and they're not looking at what's going on around them.
Right.
Scary.
Okay, so what you're saying is situational awareness.
That's the bottom line. But within reason. You can't be paranoid the whole day walking with your hand on your gun as soon as you walk out your front door.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about making a choice of making a move or making a stand.
I say this with all due respect to anybody living overseas, any South African living overseas. Obviously, Julius and his followers would love us all to get on a plane and bugger off, or on a ship and bugger off to Australia or New Zealand.
We don't want them.
No, right. No, but they would love us to go. They would love nothing more than for us to go. So we have to make a decision. Do I see chance to stay in this country? And if I do, then I'm going to get my act together. Then I'm going to start being more situational aware. Then I'm going to start looking after my home security, my security when I'm moving in public and all that sort of stuff. But if I don't, and please understand me very nicely, I do not look down on anybody that says, I've had a lot of people say to me, Dave, what must I do? I've got 3 kids. Do I stay here or should I go? Now, years ago, I would have said, now, if you go, you're a traitor, you're leaving South Africa behind, and blah, 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 blah. No. If you see a chance to stay here and ride out this storm, then you've got to get your act together. You've got to wake up. You've got to get yourself physically and mentally armed. Now, when I say physically and mentally armed, you arm yourself with the knowledge that you need, and physically you've got to arm yourself with the tools around you to protect you, with a secure environment, and if necessary, a self-defense weapon as well.
Right. Now, the other hand is obviously, making sure you can actually get out and come to a country like Australia or the UK or the USA. Now, the problem most people have is that either A, they're too old, B, they don't have the money, the finances to do it, C, they have family, or D, they have health issues. I mean, those are the 4 main issues that are stopping. I know so many people, David, who would love to leave South Africa, and we would love to have the minority people here in Australia. But we got a feral government, which is unfortunately part controlled by the Greens. And what's happening in Australia is we're getting thousands of people from Sudan and places like that coming into the country, and there are the whites who are coming into Australia and then pleading for asylum. They're being sent back home.
That's a politically thing to do, correct thing to do. When you be politically correct.
Yeah, it's tragic.
That's very sad.
It's absolutely tragic. And of
You've
course
got
now.
In the same breath, there's so many problems in so many different countries. You might be walking out of one set of problems into another set of problems. But as far as our government having 2 sets of rules to whites and non-whites, definitely, and I think the international community as well. There's definitely double standards there as well. If I look at some of the stuff that goes on in the UK, when some of the stuff I see there, you would never, ever have imagined that sort of nonsense going down. There's some areas that I think Brixton or something like that, or Bristol, or one of those fun places in the UK, the cops just don't go in there. It's run there by the immigrants.
Well, it's not that bad yet in Queensland, but there are parts of Melbourne. There are parts of Melbourne, Victoria, which are so bad that they've got these gangs which came from asylum seeking people, and these are the kids who go out there and they cause trouble. That's in Melbourne, Victoria, which has got its own issues with the police state. We talked about that just the other day. That was a really interesting discussion, actually. The fellow used to be.
Let's have a look. Let's find that one.
Yeah, look. If you look at the main Loving Life channel, his name was Sanjeev. Yeah, Sanjeev. I've forgotten what his surname was. Okay, now I've got a couple of questions here. Guys, if you've got questions, please remember to put them in the side chat. I'll just run these questions past you. If I've missed questions, please, if someone can just post them back again. Susan Julie says, the law says that you can use your fingers in self-defense. An advocate today gave a speech about this. Oh, sorry, not you can use your firearm, not your fingers. You get this right. What? Yeah. Okay, I'll just repeat the question. Susan says the law says that you can use your firearm in self-defense. An advocate today gave a speech about this. What's your view on that?
Okay, there's a move afoot by Taylor and his bumbling bees to make self-defense not a reason to have a firearm, and I think also that they want to stop the police being able to use force against when it's a crime against just property. There's rubbish like that. But the way the South African law stands at this stage, you're on. Right, I'm going to cover my arse here. As far as I know, you're not allowed to use violence to stop someone from stealing something. From let's say stealing your car, you're not allowed to use violence against that person. You are, however, as a private citizen of the country, allowed to execute an arrest against that person because it's a Schedule 1 offense. You're also allowed, as far as I know, in South Africa, that hasn't been changed overnight, like the Article 25. Yeah, as far as I know, that if someone resists arrest when you're trying to arrest them for a Schedule 1 offense, you may use necessary force against them, minimum force against them. As far as I know.
So does that include shooting them?
If it comes down to it, there was no other option. You know, I had it this weekend when I was giving guys training, and some people that know me from my army days, and they were saying, "What? Don't shoot? Are you nuts? Don't hit them. Don't do this. Don't do that." And that's the advice I'm giving people. If there's any possibility you can affect an arrest or stop an attack just by your body language, do it. By your voice. Now I'm gonna bark. I was a company sergeant major. I can bark it.
Let's hear your bark.
No. I'll scare the other people. These nice people home man. If you can do it by that, I have the privilege, or the privilege to brag that while I was in the South African Defence Force for 14 years, I had the opportunity, legal opportunity, to shoot and kill persons on 2 different occasions. I hesitated and gave both occasions a last verbal warning. Although I cocked my rifle, pointed down at them, it would have been a good shoot. I gave them the opportunity at the last moment. You don't drop it, I'm going to kill you. And they dropped it, and they were arrested. And I'm happy about that.
Right.
And that's what you want to be in the South Africa just now. You don't want to be the guy who's actually killed that person.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun killing somebody. As much as it might sound good to get all that frustration off your chest, it's not a nice thing to kill someone. So whenever possible, you don't want to be killing somebody. Whenever possible, you don't want to be using any sort of violence unless you have to. But if the law does state, as far as I know, Schedule 1 offense, if you're trying to execute a Schedule 1 offense, the person resists, you can use force. And if it gets down to the case that force is being used against you, your life is in danger, you're threatened, you might lose your life, you can then use deadly force to defend yourself. But you're not using force because that person stole your car.
Right.
The reason why you're using that force or that deadly force is because that person has resisted illegal arrest of a Schedule 1 offense, as far as I know.
Yeah. So what you're saying, in effect, is that if you let them just steal the stuff, then you can't really stop them, or you can't take shoot a shot off at them. But if you say to them, "You are under arrest. I'm arresting you," and you make a move, and they resist arrest by perhaps running away, that changes the whole legal aspect. Is that correct?
It does, but then that doesn't give you then the opportunity, the right, as far as I know, to shoot them in the back.
Okay.
That's apparently not gentlemanly play.
We might try and get one of our subscribers who's an advocate. I'm thinking it's Susan. I don't know if Susan's here, but she's often giving me legal advice on these sort of matters. We might get her to have a look at that and get back to us on that.
Well, everything I've said now is in my curriculum. I present to the Neighbourhood Watch and to the Farm Watch and the guys, and I've run it past SAP's legal, and they've agreed with everything that's in there.
Okay.
Because I've taken it verbatim out of the South African law. I think it's Article 24,
right?
If I'm not mistaken, which talks about the rights of a private person. If I'm not mistaken, that's the article.
Yeah.
And I give it to them word for word.
Yeah. The citizen arrest is something that any citizen in South Africa can actually do. Now,
yeah.
Wolfie has asked, please ask David, in his opinion, what dogs are good for security? Should it be, and then she says, should it be an aggressive breed, or should it be something like a Jack Russell?
Big ass teeth. That would do it for me. But I've got Labradors. It's a question. There again, it's a question of what do you want your dog? What is your situation? If you've got an environment where it's safe for your family to have a bike, I'll call them a bike dog. You've got in such an environment to have a bike dog. There's going to be a definite put off for anybody trying to break into your place. Then go for it. But if you've got a little flat in the middle of town, having a Rottweiler there might not be a good idea. If you've got a 3-year-old child roaming around the house, you might not want one of these. And I'm not going to mention any specifics because then those people want to kill me. Certain bike dogs you won't want to have around your kids. So I know it might not be a very definite answer, but your best thing to do there is to get one of your local dog handler specialists in your area and explain your situation, what you want it for, because also it's a question of your temperament as well. You don't want a bike dog, a big Alsatian or a Rottweiler or a Doberman or something like that, and you're a very passive person, a very not a very dominant, because a dog is a pack animal, and they want a leader. And if you're not going to be the leader, he's going to be or she is going to be the leader. Don't want that. So the advice I would give that gentleman there: get a hold of a local dog trainer, and go and have a word with them and say to them, "This is what I want the dog for. This is the type of person I am. What would you suggest?"
Yeah, but small but yappy is good because it will warn you if something's happening.
Yeah, they work good. I've got a name for those dogs, but I'm not going to say it because it's rude. It's something that they do on stoops. But they're fantastic. I used to have a little Maltese, and he was fantastic. He was a fantastic guard dog.
Yeah.
He actually killed a Rottweiler.
Wow.
Yeah, it choked on him.
Wow. Okay. Now let's look at the organizations that people should talk to, because they're good and bad organizations, aren't they? What's your advice to people in making sure they choose people who give them the correct advice?
2 words: due diligence. Just because that person has got a political ideology that you agree with, don't necessarily go follow them. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. And just because that person is spewing out the rhetoric that they think you want to hear might not be the right organization for you. Do due diligence. It happens often that people become leaders of organizations or groups or whatever the case may be, and they've got shady pasts. Now, I've experienced in this on 2 occasions of 2 organizations that I was at one stage involved with. And because I don't want to get sued, I'm not going to mention their names.
Right.
And I was getting involved with these organizations, and I did my due diligence, and I thought, bugger, do I want this person leading me? Hell no. Dodgy path, very dodgy path.
Right.
Dodgy dealing, and that type of thing. So a person must be, and we're also pack animals. We want to belong to a group, but we have to make sure that with the group we belong to doesn't just say the right things that we want to hear, but they actually stand up for the right things that we want. I don't want to be joining a group just because they're against the EFF, and they end up being worse than the EFF.
Yeah, I get it.
So anybody you get involved with, do your due diligence.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of bull that's doing the rounds as well about this organization is this and that organization is that. But do your homework on them. Find out as much information before you get involved, because often, or it can be, you get involved in an organization that's totally shady, and the security services have got them on the radar. And you become a member, and all of a sudden you're flavor of the day. You get some spooks chasing you or shading you around with the shades and the collar turned up, looking into your bank accounts. So be careful who you get involved with.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Wolfie's posted an associate question. She says, I have 2 pit bulls and 4 Jack Russells, no kids, live on a plot, and if someone breaks into my home, am I allowed to set my dogs to attack? What does the law say about dogs attacking trespassers?
I'm not sure about that, but I would say no. Definitely no, because that's a form of violence you're using against that person. And that would be the same logic as, may I draw my firearm and shoot that person? If that person attacks you on your small holding, and there's no other way to stop that attack, you then telling your dogs to I'm going to say it as it is, chow him up, bite his head off. You telling your dog to attack that person who's attacked you, who's imminently attacking you or who's busy attacking you. I would imagine that would be within the confines of the law, because that's using force, using the dog against that person. But just because someone's trespassing there, setting Fluffy and Fido on them, no.
But if Fluffy and Fido just go and attack him without you being involved, then you can just say it wasn't my fault. You shouldn't have been there.
Yes, but I've heard of people trying to turn that one around and sue the owners of the house because they've broken in there and they've been attacked by this vicious dog and blah blah blah. Some lawyers are just like prostitutes; they'll do anything to make money.
Okay.
All of them.
Susan Julie has said, Scott, let's have a live stream just on the use of firearms. I'll ask the advocate to speak with us. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to everybody watching. We've got well over 400 people watching. So, guys, if you think we should have a live stream discussing firearms, the use of firearms with an advocate, please put 1 in the side chat. If you don't think it would be a good idea for a live stream, please put 2. So I'm going to leave it to the community to decide whether we should look at a live stream on that subject. And Susan, if they say 1, could you speak to Marlena, because she looks after that area for us? Okay, now Susan also says, I'm an expert dog trainer. 3 breeds which need to be sterilized at 4 months, otherwise avoided by families, are Boer Bulls, Rotties, and Pit Bulls. I know scores of people killed by them. Well, there you go. That's what her advice is. Okay.
That's the type of person you get advice from on dogs, not me.
Well, well, Susan's an expert dog trainer, so she would know. Now, this Sunday, the 25th of October, there's a protest against farm murders. Just tell us about what's happening.
It's what we referred to the first time it was on a Monday. It was called Black Monday. But this year it's falling on a Sunday, the 25th of October. And all reasonable, God-fearing, law-abiding citizens of this country should be out there standing shoulder to shoulder with our masks on and protesting against the farm murders. But I want to add something to that, not just the farm murders, to the total anarchy that this country is heading towards. So even if farm murders doesn't really rile you up, and even if it doesn't worry you, where next month's bread is going to be coming from, if you're a reasonable South African, law-abiding South African, get out there on Sunday to your local, wherever your local one's going to be held, get out there and support the normal South Africans in this country. Let's show the world, let's show this government, if they'll take the blinkers off, that we've had enough of the farm murders, the farm attacks, the destruction, and the corruption and all this rubbish in our country. Let's get out there on Sunday and show it to them. If you want to go for a really good one, come down to Jeffries. We're going down to Jeffries, and we're going to close that town up. There's going to be so many of us, farmers and normal, sorry, not normal, not the farmers are normal, and other members of the public. We're going to be there. We're going to do a slow drive through Jeffries Bay. It's all been approved, and as far as I know, by the organizers. And there's going to be no political rhetoric. There's going to be no offensive banners. There's going to be no offensive flags or behavior or any of that sort of stuff. The organizers are doing a great job, and it's going to be great. And anyone who can make it to Jeffries, come down. It's going to be great. We're not going to burn anything. We're not going to throw stuff in the roads. We're not going to block the roads. We're not even going to attack the cops. We're going to go there. We're going to show our disgust for what's happening in our country.
Right. Okay, fantastic. I am going to start wrapping up this live stream very shortly, and I just want to thank you for taking the time with us, David. I know you got people there, and I really appreciate you coming on live.
It's my pleasure.
And before I do shut the live stream down, is there something you would like to, a message you'd like to give to people watching the live stream right now?
Yeah, I know some family and friends and all that of mine are watching this. Oh yeah, cool, Dave, you're going to be on there. We'll listen to it. But so I've already preached this to them. But to the other people, General Constantine years and years ago coined a phrase for us, and he said to us, "Don't come with problems, come with solutions." So crime is a problem in our country. It doesn't help us sitting and moaning and bitching about it on social media, or crying about it over our tea clubs, our coffee clubs, and our book clubs, or whatever, and we don't do something about it. So get off our backside and become part of the solution. We've got a hell of a lot of good cops out there. We need to be their eyes and their ears. We can do a little bit. All of us can do just a little bit. We add all those little bits. It's going to make a big difference. It's going to make the jobs of those cops better. Let's get more of these bloody cockroaches behind bars.
Yeah.
And end up that our streets are going to be a safer place to be in.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I just want to say the outcome of that the live stream on firearms was an overwhelming yes. And
yeah, baby.
And Susan Julie said, Scott, people are also asking for a live stream on dogs for protection. I'm game for that. Well, look, Susan, if you would speak to Marlena again, or just send me an email and I'll forward your email to Marlena, because you're an expert dog trainer. So maybe we can have an advocate on and you on, and we could be talking about the dog situation and the firearm situation at the same time in the live stream. I think that's probably a good way to go. I'm going to put Marlena in touch with you, Susan, and if you can just please send me an email and I'll forward it to Marlena. And the same thing with that advocate, if again, just making contact with Marlena. All right.
Scott,
yeah, go ahead, David.
Do you like poetry?
I love poetry.
Repeat after me.
Okay.
I'm proud to be South African.
I'm proud to be South African.
I'm glad to be free.
I'm glad to be free.
But I wish I was a dog.
But I wish I was a dog.
And Malema was a tree.
And Malema was a tree.
Have a nice evening.
I would have thought you to be saying that Malema was a little chicken. Really fix him. All right. David, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you for sharing that checklist, which people can download below the video in the description. And guys, go through that. And please, if you aren't really set up for potential danger, consider doing it now. I want to thank the moderators for the work that they always do in the side chat. Great work, guys. And finally, to everybody who's watched tonight, thank you so much for joining us. We have live streams most nights, in fact, just about every night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time on the Loving Life channel. So please come and join us. Tomorrow night, for example, we're having General Isaac van Zyl from Boereligion coming on with Hein Marks from the ULA. And this is a big development because they never used to talk to each other. And this is what we were talking about earlier with David. Now, David was part of that process, which actually has resulted in these guys coming together. And I'm so delighted that's happened.
I can't take the credit for that. I'm just talking about just my local, but I'm so proud to see that those guys are putting the difference behind them and going together. But I'm not guilty on that one.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Please take care, everybody. I'm going to sign out of this live stream. And thanks once again, David, and have a great evening.
God bless. Take care.